Meanwhile, Judges Matter says challenging the JSC's interview process is forcing the Commission to account. Let me bring on the body's Alison Tilley. Good evening to you, Alison, and thank you so much for your time tonight. Firstly, let's just talk about the process of CASEC challenging this interview process. Have we seen this before, ever?
Yes, we have. The JSC was challenged some time ago by the Cape Bar in relation to appointments. And so there are a string of decisions which already tell us a little bit about the JSC and how it should operate.
Mm. And would that be the benchmark then that the court would use in determining whether the behavior or the manner of questions for these judges was unfair?
Well, this application goes quite a lot further. Mm. And what it does is it says that there are a range of questions that were asked that were unfair and that actually created a process that was unlawful, irrational, and unfair. And it covers, in the founding affidavit, a range of questions asked by different commissioners and suggests that for various reasons, those questions resulted in a process that was wrong.
When we look at the range of questions that were asked and how they may have perhaps disadvantaged certain candidates, ultimately there are deliberations, private deliberations that take place to decide on who the best candidates are. Would that process not then provide a level of fairness in terms of whoever may have been disadvantaged in the interviews?
Well, that's not the argument that's laid out in the case. The argument that's laid out in the case is that there were a range of questions that were asked that should not have been asked. And some of that was about using questions around temperament in order to open a discussion around, I guess what you could say, facts not in evidence, dealing with questions of disputes that the candidate hadn't necessarily been told about. And there were a range of other issues, talking about irrelevant political issues, political questions, even to the extent of describing what one of the commissioners, their line of questioning as being intimidation. So I think it's much broader than the question of the JSC's process. It really goes to how the commission is approaching its work.
How important are the transcripts going to be in helping the courts at least make a determination on this matter?
The transcripts of the JSC hearings?
Yes.
They're crucial. And I think that's one of the things that is certainly mentioned in the application, which is that sunlight is the best disinfectant. It's argued in the application, and I would agree, that the fact that the JSC hearings are held in public and are live streamed now in this last session by the Office of the Chief Justice, which is something we've been working towards. I think you really, a range of people, different stakeholders, were able to see the interviews and to consider their position on whether they thought the process was fair.
Mm. And sorry, Alison, I think I wasn't clear enough. I was talking about the transcripts or the memos of the minutes of the meetings that are held between the commissioners when they're deliberating on the candidates, and not necessarily what we get to see publicly.
Sure. So once the commissioners go behind closed doors, we traditionally are not allowed into those deliberations. But those deliberations can be made public as part of a record if you challenge the legality of the deliberations. And so that is very likely to happen. There's some debate about how substantive the deliberations are. In some instances, they are a vote rather than a detailed discussion. And, of course, that's going to be one of the issues that the JSC will again have to address.
Ultimately, what do you think this case is going to do for the JSC process of interviews?
Well, I would hope that what it does is what we've been suggesting to them is critical, is that they really think about the questions that they ask before they ask them. In most interview processes, you'll try to have some measure of standardization. The JSC deviates from 3-minute interviews to 3-hour interviews. There are some questions candidates and not others. The process is remarkably uneven, and they do it against the background of no set criteria that they agree on as to what the qualities are that they're looking for in the judges that they appoint. It was just a matter of time before this type of situation has arisen.
Alison Tilley from Judges Matter, thank you so much for joining us tonight and for weighing in on this matter.